Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, May 27th, 2016. And my first story is all about Hillary Clinton. Now, listen, I have on my website a poll, and I just asked a simple question. Do you think that Hillary Clinton will be indicted? Yes, no, I don't know. Well, the I don't know is about 10% or so. The yes is 36%. The no is 54%. 54% of you do not think that Hillary Clinton will be indicted. You are basically bidding against the House, me. Well, so what came out? An important, study by the Inspector General. Clinton violated email rules. Now, of course, the left and the Clinton supporters say, oh, she didn't break the law. Really? She violated the email rules. She had a private server that's unprecedented. People in the past have used private emails, secretaries of state. However, they didn't have a private server in their bathroom, backed up on a cloud across the country, and nobody having a security clearance. This is the story that USA Today has largely ignored, and all of a sudden, boom! Here they have a front page above the fold headline, Clinton violated email rules, state says. That's the State Department. And now I've been documenting how they haven't been covering this story. You know, Cheryl Mills is what's not in this story. Cheryl Mills, her chief of staff, is trying to stop any release of any deposition, any audio, video, trying to stop that. Well, listen, if they didn't do anything wrong, why don't you release it? Oh, well, I'm afraid that it'll be used against Hillary and be used for political purposes. Well, yeah. Huma Abedin, one of her top aides, also questioned by the FBI. You won't find this in USA Today. Just all of a sudden, boom, Clinton violated email rules. It also says in this story that, there's no evidence of it being hacked. Really? No evidence? Well, if USA Today would have had a team of people covering this, yes, there was. They just extradited a European, an Eastern European. His code name is, his handle is Guccifer. And he pled guilty to hacking Hillary Clinton's email server. A couple of things that came out in that. He said, A, that while it was easy to hack, and B, I found other IP addresses from countries such as, China, Russia, other hackers who had been in that server. So evidence that it was hacked, you just had somebody admit to hacking it. And it gets better. This Guccifer character, it's reported that he's going to help the FBI with their investigation. Mind you, folks, this is a story largely ignored by the mainstream media. This has never happened in the history of American politics. There has never been a front-running candidate in either party, a presumptive nominee, Hillary Clinton, in either party under a current FBI investigation 6 months before an election. Somehow the mainstream media doesn't think this first ever political occurrence is a story. And, back to you guys thinking that she won't be indicted. Well, okay, you might be right, but I'm telling you, this is the ding, 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 fat lady clearing her voice. Hello, Clinton violated email rules, says State. The Inspector General. Now you have mainstream MSNBC, I think Scarborough, stop lying, screaming out. You also have people, Jon Stewart making a quip a couple of weeks ago about, I don't know what Hillary Clinton stands for, which the mainstream press just passed on. Then you have, that's also hasn't been covered in USA Today. And remember, I called, the president's office and talked to his number two, his assistant. And said, you guys didn't even cover the guy that set up the private server for Hillary Clinton and set it up in her bathroom, and that he got an immunity deal from the Justice Department. Now let's future cast here a little bit. Let's start with Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump looks incredibly strong to me, and he is fighting the top members, the establishment in the Republican National Party, the Republican Party, the establishment, criminal crony class. He looks incredibly strong, even though have been mostly against him. I mean, they talk about his negatives, and they spent a couple of $100 million on negative ads in every state. There was a primary to make him look bad, to trash him. Yeah, I guess his negatives are high. And now let's look at Hillary Clinton. Despite the fact that Hillary Clinton is propped up by the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, despite the fact that Bernie Sanders is charging that Debbie Wasserman Schultz should lose her job because she's biased, despite the fact that the rules are rigged in Hillary Clinton's favor in terms of these super delegates, a criminal crony class, and despite the fact that the Democratic National Party really is kind of for Hillary and she can't put away a 74-year-old socialist, she looks incredibly weak, despite the fact she's being propped up by the top people of her own party. In California primary, right now, the news reports, the polls are saying that Hillary is running neck and neck with Bernie Sanders. As far as I'm concerned, that's a win for Sanders. If it comes in like Indiana, where she spends all this time and treasure trying to defeat Bernie Sanders, and the best she can do is a tie, oh, that's a loss. And if she loses to Bernie Sanders in California, you can put the indictment on an express train. Don't you think that the top members of the DNC realize, whoo, she's an incredibly weak candidate? Don't you think they're smarter than me? I do. I think they're way smarter than me. Don't you think they can see that? Don't you know that in the background that the people in the Democratic Party know, they know full well that Obama hates Hillary. Hillary hates Obama. The Obamas hate the Clintons. Hate them. Well documented in the book Blood Feud, hate them. They hate each other. And then you have, while President Obama is over in Asia, that Terry McAuliffe, who actually was a top guy in the Clinton Foundation, all of a sudden, boom, leaked out under an FBI investigation. Who leaked that out? Hillary Clinton, if she loses California, if she ties, she better win by a landslide. Because I think the Democratic Party would want to get rid of her now. I think she's an incredibly weak candidate. I made two big predictions. A, she wouldn't be president. B, when the email thing came out, let's get into motivation here. Listen, she had a private email to cover up the fact that she was being bribed and selling favors at the State Department while she was Secretary of State. That's my personal opinion, and there's a lot of facts that back that up. But if she doesn't blow them away in California, you can expect they're going to put this indictment on a fast track. They're going to let it happen. Obama's not going to let her be the president of the United States after all the bombs he's dropped on her head. He just dropped the Terry McAuliffe bomb on her head. I don't think he couldn't have suppressed that. Come on. That just got leaked out. I mean, huh? What? But the mainstream press, a first ever political occurrence in American politics. They don't have teams of people on this. They're just, oh, wow, surprised. I finally had to cover this report that, she did break the rules. And I think that really means she broke the law. This is a private server. And this is a private server. If this doesn't forget about, as I've said in the past, forget about lying, forget about perjury, or forget about obstruction of justice, forget about mishandling top secret and classified information. Forget about all that. She had a private server. She admitted to it. It was unprotected. Nobody had a security clearance who touched that server. The cloud, the people who backed it up did not have a security clearance. Yes, one guy's already pled guilty to hacking it. If that is not gross negligence under the Espionage Act, I don't know what is. But the story that you're going to hear tons about, it's going to be this. Bill Cosby. Yep. I mean, I'm sorry about the allegations of these 58 women. Of course, I can't believe all 58 women who don't know each other are telling the same story about being drugged and raped and assaulted. I can't believe that they're all lying. But, I mean, Bill Cosby says that's not true. But this is the story you're going to end up seeing, wall to wall. Bill Cosby, look over here, look over here, look over here. Hey, listen, it doesn't make 2 cents a difference in my life whether he did it, whether he gets convicted or not. I'm sorry that these women, if they really did go through this, and I kind of think they did because they're all telling the same story, but I'm talking about stories of national importance to every American. This ain't it, folks. I'm sorry. It's tawdry. This isn't it. I am telling you that that I've been warning about the war drums beating, and that when it hits above the fold in USA Today, Russia, China, air threat growing, we're talking about them flying around ships and our spy planes and our reconnaissance planes and things like that. Finally, they decided to report that, hey, there's this is heating up, folks. And this is the kind of story that I say it really affects all Americans, and that this is something that you need to be involved in. Not the Clinton story, but look, Sanders, I'm telling you, if he beats her in California, of course, the Democrats don't want him. Actually, the nobody wants Sanders. He wants to clean up the banks, and I've said all the stuff he wants to do. That's important. Well, of course, and this is how the mainstream press reports. Fraud after fraud after Citibank to pay $425 million to settle CFTC charges. Like, oh, this is like a little parking ticket, just a little wrongdoing, misunderstanding, missold, misrepresented. That's all words for fraud. I mean, they're talking about, the rigging of the London Interbank Offered Rate and rigging of dollar derivatives and the dollar, market rigging, fraud, just another 425. Just fraud. Nobody goes to jail. Just some more fraud. That's why they don't like Bernie Sanders. If he becomes a nominee, that's why they're going to try to run out somebody like Joe Biden. But we shall see. And then when you see the mainstream press who doesn't want to report fraud, and what they will report this a Home Alone. That they don't really know what's going on. This is on the front page of the business section this past week of USA Today. Confusion. It's the name of the game on Wall Street. Really, you've had week after week of insider selling at a record pace. You've got debt that's unbelievable. You've got debt downgrades of Deutsche Bank over in Europe. You've got debt downgrades of Credit Suisse. You've got Puerto Rico with their bonds in trouble that the Congress is granting them some sort of a reorganization type bailout that could affect pensions everywhere. You've got Saudi Arabia credit being downgraded by Moody's. But we're confused. It's confusing. It's confusing, folks. It's confusing to have grown the debt by another $60 trillion since '08 and not fixing what's going on. Gregory Mannarino says, hey, listen, if they could have fixed the system in '08, they would have done it, but it hasn't been fixed. They just propelled it. They made it worse. Mannarino is going to be the early Sunday release. Great interview, folks. I mean, he came up, when oil was in the high 20s and said, they're not going to let it go any lower than this. No way. That's not going to happen. All the banks were exposed to this energy, all this energy bonds and all this energy debt. He said, no way, they're going to run it back up. Boom, $50 a barrel. Mannarino, early Sunday release. He's got some great insights and great stuff going on. However, I usually come up with, every week I have these headlines that show you how bad the economy is. There's plenty of headlines this week that are bad. But I just want to focus on one because it's simple. And it's Bill Gross. And just so you know, Bill Gross worked at PIMCO for years. He's nicknamed the Bond King, since rates were like 19 or 20% in 1980, 81. He rode the bond wave all the way down, made money all the way down, been a brilliant guy. He spotted a huge trend in bonds. That's why they called him the Bond King. So he knows all about debt. He knows all about bonds. And lo and behold, what bubbles out this past week is this little quip. The system itself is at risk. Bill Gross warns shorts credit as day of reckoning is coming. Let that sink in, folks. The system itself is at risk. This is Bill Gross, one of the premier bond experts in the world. And he's warning a day of reckoning is coming, because if you can't make the payments, the bonds are no good. And look at all those downgrades that we've had. There's just a few of the ones I messaged. Saudi Arabia, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, the problems that they're having with Puerto Rico. And that's not because they're making too much money and making all their payments. And then you have Bill Gross pretty much sums up the whole deal that the system itself is at risk. That doesn't sound like a small thing, does it? And yet we have President Obama. I'm watching TV, if I stay up late, I post late. Watching President Obama, and he comes on from Vietnam. They're carrying his speech live, and I'm thinking he's talking about how the Trans-Pacific Partnership is going to create jobs for Vietnam. And I thought to myself, what? Whoa, why don't you have in that speech over here? Oh, because it's not going to create jobs for the United States. At best, it's a wash. I read one story, about the only story I ever saw in USA Today, say that it will create 600,000 jobs and then we'll lose 600,000 jobs. What do you bet the 600,000 jobs we lose are high-paying jobs? And what do you bet the 600,000 jobs we get are, crap and 29-hour-a-week and low-wage service junk? He's not making that speech over here, but he's telling Vietnam, this is going to be jobs for you. This is going to be jobs. Why is he having that speech over here? Because it's not going to mean jobs for us. And by the way, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, remember, this is a secret trade deal. I call it trade treason. Any American should be against this deal. Any deal done in secret cannot be good for Americans. And if he thought it was so good, he'd come out, he'd tell all the networks, listen, I want to talk to the country about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, and tell people how great it is, how many jobs it's going to produce. But he's not doing that, is he? But he's on Vietnamese television saying, oh, this is going to create jobs for you. Oh, really? Not going to create jobs for us. And the other thing he does while he's over there, while we have this South China Sea thing going on, he ends U.S. arms embargo to Vietnam. Oh, that's going to settle things down. Oh, the Chinese are going to love the South Vietnamese, the Vietnamese being armed now again with state-of-the-art U.S. weapons. Yeah, they're going to love that. That's going to settle things down on the South China Sea, won't it? Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. Of course, you don't get any truth out of the mainstream press. They are willing to destroy their own business model, and their business model is to tell the truth and be on the cutting edge of the truth and warn people and have good analysis and good reporting. And what do we have here? A little story I pulled up. Talk about the Iran deal, which I said wouldn't be a deal. There's no signatures. The Iran deal, echo chamber, paid well. This story is an AP story. Of course, they sheepishly did it on, page 6 of my local paper. Sheepishly did this story about how, the Obama administration paid for news stories at places like National Public Radio and other news outlets. And then, of course, they basically got their buddies, their super PAC, as Marco Rubio said, the mainstream media is the biggest super PAC that the Democrats have. They basically got them to have an echo chamber to, create a false narrative about this deal, which has no signatures, no paperwork. It's a no deal deal. It is no deal. No signatures, no paperwork. That means it's a no deal. It's a phony deal. John Kerry should be ashamed of himself for passing that off on America. Remember him, well, we'll walk away from the negotiating table. Well, yeah, right. You walk away from the negotiating table. The no deal deal. It's a sham on the U.S., and it's a sham on Iran. Iran is now complaining about the deal, and they can't do much about it. They're saying they don't have access to credit markets. They don't have access to the SWIFT system. They didn't get their money yet. And Iran's complaining about it. Of course, both sides try to pull a fast one, and have a no-deal deal, and then nobody is adhering to any deal. It's a scam on both countries, on the people of both countries. A scam, a sham. Finally, I haven't brought this up. This is you've heard about the HB2, the restroom, bathroom, and all the entertainers, or not all of them, but some of them boycotting the North Carolina. This happened because the city of Charlotte decided to, under a lot of protests, which you didn't hear about this. I live in North Carolina. A lot of protests that they did away with men's and women's showers, locker rooms, bathrooms, just unisex, all unisex. That's why the governor and the legislator did what they did, because they said, whoa, you can't just create unisex bathrooms. We have decency laws. We have exposure laws. You can't have people, in these bathrooms. And, you didn't think this out very well, so they stopped and said you couldn't do that. But let me tell you what the end game is. Here's the end game. This is a little AP story. All gender restrooms are Yale's new normal. This is the wackadoodle Northeast, the cuckoo crazy, all gender. That's what they're going for, ladies. So when you hear about how this is some civil rights issue, like Selma, Alabama, and that kind of thing, which is totally bogus. That's what Loretta Lynch has said. It's a civil rights issue of our day. Well, ladies, if you'd like to have men in your bathrooms, go ahead and vote for the people that like this civil rights issue. It's what they're going for, all gender restrooms. And they're not, this is the Democrats are so scientific. And they're not even applying any science like, oh, do you have an extra Y or extra X or, whatever, a chromosome or whatever that. No, just however you feel, whoever you identify with, whoever you identify with. Whoever you identify with, just whatever on day. I like, some guy could be looking at some very attractive woman going to the bathroom, and he could go, the law says it's whoever I identify with. He could just walk in there. I don't know how you're going to accommodate the 0.2% of the transvestite the transsexual, I should say, people in this country. But everybody's rights have to be respected. Not just the 0.2%. That's what the CDC says, the population of the transgender people, but also the 99.8% and parents' rights and the rights for them not to expose their children to this kind of thing with this, all gender bathroom, all gender. So, ladies, if you'd like to have men who just decide one day they want to identify with women, walk in your bathroom, you vote for that, because that's what they're going for. That's what they're going for. And incidentally, HB2 just merely put back the law back to where it was for the last, 100 years here in North Carolina. I don't know how they're going to accommodate the transsexual folks in the state, but they have to accommodate, they have to work out a deal, and they can't have, entertainers and ultra left-wing liberals try to exercise a penalty on people who have a legitimate beef about this law. Finally, I want to talk about Memorial Day. I used to say Happy Memorial Day, but I don't say that anymore, and the reason why is because it's a day that commemorates the fallen. Of course, a lot of people say this is the unofficial kickoff to summer. Okay, fine. But really, it just takes a few minutes to remember the men and women who gave it all protecting the country, who gave it all protecting our freedoms. And I'm able to sit here at usawatchdog.com and give my opinion, whether you like it or not, whether you appreciate it or not, that I can give my opinion and my analysis, and to a large part, that has to do with the men and women who veterans of our country, current and former, the fallen, and all of them. I just want to say that if you know somebody that was in the service, thank them for their service to the country. And remember the fallen, the men and women who gave it all so we could have our freedoms and enforce our Constitution and our way of life. Even though it's under attack by criminal crony bankers and the criminal crony class, we still have a Constitution and we still have rights. And with that, I say to you, my favorite quote, fear not, prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually, fear not. God the Father is in charge.